In this new day and age, we have more resources than ever to learn about the world around us. With new technology like computers, phones, TV, and social media, we're able to see news from every country around the world. Young adults have more access to the news than any other generation, especially because they grew up in a time where they knew how to navigate the internet at a fairly young age. But with this advantage, do young people even read the news? In this video, we are going to answer the research question: where do young people in my community get their news from, and how does the quality and focus of that information impact their engagement with local issues? I was able to conduct a survey that asked students what platforms they receive news from, what issues they care about, how much they know about specific issues in Cobb County, if they truly trust the news they're receiving, and if they even watch the news in the first place. In the first few questions, I asked them, do you think civic engagement is important to you as a teenager/young adult? 78.3% said yes, 21.7% said somewhat. I also asked them, as students who live in Cobb County or may attend a school in Cobb County, what issues do they care about that may affect their community, city, or country? I received answers like the EBT crisis, civil rights, infrastructure issues, and so much more. Now, my question assesses what news sources the students in my community consume and how those news sources and the education they've received affect their civic engagement. I first asked them, where do you get your information from, specifically about political/social issues? As we can see, most of them chose social media, with news online in second, and news articles in third. And some of them even said, I don't look for that information personally. Then I gave them some examples of some of the most popular news sources and asked them if they consumed any of them. As in watch, not eat. As we saw previously, social media was the top answer, with 83% of these students getting their news from TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, or maybe even YouTube. The second most popular source was New York Times. But what kind of qualities do these sources have, and what issues, political opinions, or biases do they focus on? First, let's define what quality means. Quality specifically relates to the reliability of these news sources. Do they usually tell the truth and present facts in their findings? The organization Fractal analyzed the most popular media sources and rated them based on their bias, reliability, and traffic. New York Times average traffic is over 195 million people, making it the third most popular news media site that Fractal analyzed. 62.5% of my surveyors chose this as a news source they read from. Their reliability rating is a 46. Another popular choice, Fox News, has average traffic of around 200 million people and has a reliability rating of 33.17. But why is it important for young people to find reliable news sources? If people read news that, for example, twist stories, they can go into elections without knowing a candidate's policy, have false information on about issues, and spread misinformation to others. This also causes distrust in the media. According to a poll by Gallup about trust in media, Americans' confidence in the mass media has been the lowest it's ever been, with only 28% of Americans having the confidence in the media to report news fully, accurately, and fairly. And this has been steadily decreasing over time. So we know that reliability is important, but what effect does bias have in the media? Fractal's bias rating is based on if the media source leans left or right. If the score is negative, it leans left. If the score is positive, it leans right. If the score is closer to zero, it either has a balance of biases or is a centrist bias. The Washington Post had a rating of negative 8.38. Fox News had a rating of 16.44, and NPR had a rating of negative 4.85. Bias in the media is inevitable, but a source with heavy bias can manipulate political beliefs, having the power to bias voters and therefore cause biased policy decisions. Heavy media bias is a common characteristic in countries with restricted media freedom and expression. Most media with heavy bias intend to influence their audience's votes, perception of candidates, and opinions, aka focusing on entertainment and interests and not informing the public and spreading the truth. The act of a leader or a news source purposely trying to create extremism or hostility between political parties is called political polarization. I asked the people in my survey if they know what political polarization or socialization is, and only 54.2% can confidently say yes. Over time, political polarization has intensified in our country. Pew Research Center has conducted studies on the partisan opinions of Americans, and this figure shows the divide between partisans about issues like the economy, social welfare, and climate change. This is not only due to people tying their social identity to these parties, but also due to biased sources attacking the opinions of the opposing party, painting them in a negative way, and discouraging bipartisan agreement in society and our government that cause issues like government gridlocks. Social media is one of the main news sources that can exacerbate political polarization, and this is because of one single feature. A lot of people shy away from social media as a news source. However, many companies have established themselves on these apps to reach more viewers and spread more awareness. However, this comes with a price. Say you're a 17-year-old child whose birthday, 18th birthday, is in the next few months. You're finally excited to become an adult and vote. One day, you decide to go on TikTok, just like every other day, and you come across a video about the popcorn party. You watch it for a few seconds and go on with your day. However, your few seconds of attention on one video starts a chain reaction. TikTok analyzes your possible interests and starts giving you videos about the science behind popcorn, the best popcorn bowl, and what the candidates of the popcorn party are talking about. New to politics, you start aligning with this party, as this social media has only exposed you to that certain party's beliefs and candidates. Little do you know, the popcorn. But you wouldn't know that, because TikTok only feeds you videos that you pay attention to. Now keep this in mind, and we'll get back to how students can protect themselves from unreliable sources and false information. Now, how many people didn't consume any of these sources or don't watch news at all? When asked if they believe they're up to date on political/social issues, around 13% of my surveyors said not at all or little. Additionally, almost 13% also said that they don't look for information about political or social issues at all. According to Pew Research Center, young adults ages 18 to 29 are the least likely group to follow the news compared to older generations, with only 15% of young adults saying they do. But why does this matter? And does it really affect our country? In American history, younger adults, or new voters, have always been the group with the lowest voter participation. According to the nonpartisan health policy research organization, Kaiser Family Foundation, in November 2024, people aged 18 to 24 were the lowest proportion of votes in Georgia. This is mostly due to lack of information or lack of time, but let's focus on this lack of information part. Think back to when I said, young adults have more access to the news than any other generation. So then, why is this a reason for low voter participation? Well, let's look back. Students know that media is biased, which strays them away from voting and civic engagement. We also know that the most popular source among young adults, social media, uses algorithms that can cause extremist views or spread false information. A big reason why people don't watch the news is because they don't trust the media. As you can see, only about 4.2% of my surveyors say that they actually trust the media often. Students need to watch the news to receive information, but they need to receive the right information to make well-informed decisions. So how can they get the information? How can they avoid political polarization? How can they fact-check their news and find reliable and unbiased news sources? Through education. If students know how to navigate social media and fact-check their news sources, this can have amazing effects on voter participation and civic engagement. In the state of Georgia, it is a requirement for all students to take a government and politics class to graduate. This already has great effects on young civic engagement and education. 93% of the students in my survey who've taken a civics class say that they found civic engagement important, and 86% feel like they were up to date on local issues. To add to these civic courses, let's say there was a creation of a unit that elevates the importance of knowing how and where to get political and social information. This unit could discuss the dangerous effects of unreliable, false, and biased news. It would teach students how to fact check the information of these news sources and build critical thinking skills throughout the course. Just like Icivics provides games to learn about history and government, there are games online that teachers can give students to learn about misinformation. One example is the game Bad News, that teaches people how easily misinformation can spread across the internet. Teenagers and young adults have a passion for civic engagement and knowing about political issues. This is seen in my community, through my survey, and also throughout the world and online. When curiosity and passion await in a young student, education and encouragement can help ignite that flame and make that passion into something bigger.